I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat to me, and I'm not going to be mad if you decide to send me an early link for the next video. I promise. So,
Well, it is becoming a theme to do the reactions with the reactors. So you're on the top of my list. Absolutely.
You know what? I'm not mad about that. Great. Okay. If it looks like I'm excited, it's because I am, and that's because we are joined by the impossibly talented Brittney SLAYES from Unleash the Archers. Thank you so much for joining me. How's your day been?
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I want to start out by sending a massive thanks to you guys, all the whole band, the label, everyone, because you make it very easy to react to your music. The music is great. The label doesn't block any of the videos. So from a YouTube reactor scene, it makes it really easy to do that. I want to get your take on the whole YouTube reaction scene. Is it just a nice form of entertainment, or is it moving into a place where it's a little bit more valuable, something like digital PR for bands?
I think it's great. I think it's an awesome community full of really amazing people that are very supportive of the music and the bands that they love. And it's a whole new kind of area of growth that you can find, not just, through YouTube videos, but through the whole community discovering you on someone's reaction channel and then pushing you to be on someone else's reaction channel, and then someone else who's a fan of that channel discovering you. It's just it's a really crazy kind of mix of people suggesting you and then discovering you through the reaction community. So I think it's great. I think it's an awesome thing to come out of YouTube, and we're happy to be a part of it, and that people like reacting to our stuff.
Great. Before we get into the music, I do have to talk to you about something. As a South African and a former rugby player myself, and might I add, current world champions, I need to talk to you about your rugby days at University of Victoria. What position? Why rugby? I can't wait to hear about this.
I played scrum half.
Same.
And yeah, I think it was like, I don't know how old you are in grade 6, but the girls from high school came to our elementary school, and I was big into sports at the time. I was playing everything that I could get my hands on. And they came and they were like, "Hey, does anyone know what rugby is?" And we were all like, "What? No? What the heck is that?" So they were like, "Okay, we're doing classes after school for the next whatever month. And then at the end, we're going to have all the elementary schools play each other in a tournament." And it was just buggers. So it wasn't like actual rugby. But so they taught us how to play. And so when I got to high school, obviously I joined the team right away and played all through high school and through most of university, because eventually I had to give it up just because it was a little too difficult with everything that I had going on. And I had to pick one thing to go. And of course I picked the thing that was like damaging my body irreparably. But it was like the greatest thing about growing up. It was like what kept me in high school. I think I probably would have dropped out if it weren't for rugby. It's just the funnest sport on the planet.
I love it. You're not going to get any arguments here. Staying with your university days, you graduated with a European art history degree. I'm assuming that plays an important role in your love for storytelling, writing concepts.
Well, history is a lot of essay writing. So, and it's all about just kind of finding new angles, new kind of discovering things in the past and how they relate to the way they are in the future. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed learning about humankind throughout the ages. And it's a little bit like anthropology in that as well, is that you learn a lot about the mistakes that we've made and how we can grow from them and how we don't most of the time. And so it's really kind of like stories, but they're real. And the history of especially European history, it's been around so much longer than North America. There's just so much there, and it's hard to believe that it all actually happened. So we can make up the craziest ideas, but a lot of the time it's all rooted in the actual history of humanity, medieval times, the Dark Ages, the Egyptian pyramids, all of their mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology. It's all so cool, and it definitely inspires a lot of my love of fantasy, and then of course science fiction as well, with all of our technological advancements in the last 50 years or so. So I mean, it's a big part of who I am as a writer and a person.
Staying with the storytelling theme, obviously a lot of your concepts are these amazing stories that you're telling through music. It got me thinking, you would assume that someone who writes from personal experiences, who writes about stories that have happened to them kind of in the real world, you assume it's easier for them to pour emotion and care into their lyrics and vocals. You don't seem to have that problem. Is that because, has that ever been a problem? Or is it because these characters and stories are so close and real to you that it may as well have been a personal experience?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, the whole write what you know thing is legit. I do try and write as much from personal experience, but not like explicitly. It's just kind of themes and here and there, just things that I've learned about life, and especially through the band and being kind of on out there in front of everyone as a musician. You don't really have a personal life sometimes, so you learn a lot of lessons, and I don't know, yeah, I just kind of want to impart what I know to people. So even though I'm writing about this immortal who is from some world that we don't live on, he as a character is really very much reflective of humanity right now, and the struggle that everyone's going through right now, which is just trying to be accepting of one another and of ourselves, and taking that hatred and that evil sort of that's been defining our past for so long, and did so with the immortal as well, taking that and just putting it behind us and moving forward into a positive space. And that's really kind of what the whole album is about. And I just feel like the immortal is kind of this representative of all of humanity, and that we've got such darkness within us, but we have to really work hard to push it away, accept it and put it away, basically, is kind of what it's all about. So yeah, I think, I don't know, when you know the story so well, when you've been thinking about it in your head for so long, you really just, it kind of, I disappear into the music. And when I was in the studio finally getting to lay everything down, I really felt it, like just so excited to say these words, for people to finally hear what's been in my head for so long. So I think that's probably where most of it comes from.
Well, it's a beautiful album, and I'm currently working my way through. As someone who reacts to music, you're trying to not listen to everything all at once, and you're trying to wait for some of those videos to come out. And what I have heard has been magical. The album's been out for a little, it's almost 2 weeks now, isn't it? Yeah. What has the feedback been? I know it's a very strange time to release an album. How is this done? Have you got any kind of analytics or feedback to let you know how it's performed versus albums that have been released in, I guess, a normal time where you can go touring and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, so far the reaction's been pretty positive. People are enjoying it. We're getting a lot of messages on Facebook, and everywhere, Instagram. It's very hard to keep up. I'm sorry if you've messaged and I haven't answered people. But a lot of people are kind of like, thank you for doing this, for not holding on to it, for not waiting until, this is all over to put it out, because it's helping people get through it. And it was, something really fun to look forward to. And then now that it's out, it's something that's getting people through their day. And it's really awesome to hear that we can, that we can help. And you didn't really know what it was going to be like. It was really kind of I was pushing Napalm to release it. They were like, I don't know if this is such a great idea. And I was just like, no. I was like, personally, I am on Spotify every day looking for new music, trying to find something, to just kind of make me excited to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I there's no way I'm the only person that's feeling like this right now. So I think we're gonna be okay. Let's just release it. And luckily, they agreed and they listened, and so far so good. Yeah.
This is kind of a two-part question. The next one, you mentioned about finally getting in there and being able to lay the tracks down and get everything out of your head onto the tracks and hear them for the first time. Was there a particular moment that you knew you were onto something special? Being a new fan who discovered you through Awakening, like pretty much every other YouTube reactor, and then working my way through some of your other music, and after discovering that Awakening song, falling in love with it, working my way back a bit erratically, unfortunately, and picking up bits of the story. This album seems so polished, so full. There's a level of care in the production that you can hear has kind of elevated it, in my opinion. When you started hearing it back, was there a moment you knew you were onto something great? And was the songwriting process any different for this?
I think, yeah, when we first listened to the whole record, all of us sitting on the couch in Jacob's studio, and everything was done. And we just went, we put it on start to finish. We all were kind of like, this is cool. This is different. It wasn't, I mean, just personally, we feel like it's not like everything else that we've done. There are absolutely style points and songs that are reminiscent of things we've done in the past. And like how we always do a quick banger or whatever we call it. So like Soulbound is a little bit like the Matriarch in form and function and that kind of thing. But it just really felt like we had created something new and exciting. And we were really excited about that. But there was also, it's just kind of like, yeah, but is anyone else going to care? Is anyone going to see, like, to hear it like the way we hear it? And also we really struggled with the fact that people love Apex so much. We were just kind of like, everyone is so in love with that record. They're not even going to listen to Abyss. They're not even going to give it the time it deserves, because they're just going to be like, oh no, it's not Apex, and move on. And I totally get that, because I've definitely done that with albums myself. Like I loved The Living Infinite from Soilwork, and then when I heard the next album, I was just kind of like, nope, it's not the right, it's not the same. So I didn't even really give it a chance. But so I get it, but it's also, I just wish that people could separate it from that record, because we really, really worked to separate ourselves from everything on that album as best we could. We took like all of 2019 off from playing shows and touring and everything, so that we could have a breather from it, and get new ideas and have new influences and discover new music to inspire the album. So we tried our best for it to be a separate record, and we were really just kind of like, who knows if people are even gonna care. But I forget the second half of the question now.
It was just about your songwriting process. If there was a different approach to this, I know I've watched interviews where you've mentioned Andy kind of locking himself away. Was there a new formula for this, or was it kind of just as it required?
Well, it was this. We did it exactly the same as Apex, in that I wrote it out as a track by track guideline. So I was like, track 1, chapter 1. This is what's happening in the story, all that kind of thing. And the only difference really is that Andrew did the writing on his own this time, just because Grant's super busy with kids and everything. So Andy was just firing off riffs like crazy, and Grant was just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to let you take care of it. And so it was very much Andrew and I kind of dissecting everything. And then we'd send it to the boys, and they'd listen, and they'd be like, yeah, this part's really cool, or this doesn't really work, or like, we need to work on this song, we need to move some things around, we need to take this out, that, or whatever. So all 4 of us were very much involved in the whole arrangement side of things. But Andy did all the riff writing, and I think that having one mind behind it, using a super solid sort of formulaic kind of idea from someone else, just as, like I said, a guideline to follow, to constantly be moving in the same direction and on the same page about everything. I feel like that just made it so the record was so cohesive. And, we made sure that every riff had a purpose and nothing was frivolous. And every song is exactly where it's supposed to be on the record, because that's where we wrote it to be. Every song was written kind of in tangent with all the others. It wasn't like, here's this song, here's this song, here's this song. where do we put them? It was always like, okay, so if this is the riff for that song, what's a riff that feels right but is capturing the emotional tone of this moment, and then what's going to feel right coming out of that and then going into the next one. And it was just constantly like how everything is linked. And it took a while. We definitely took our time on this album, longer than any other record. We didn't, we tried not to rush as much as possible despite deadlines and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, so it was like the same but different.
Yeah. I did want to make a note about your vocals. I mean, your ability and talent is well documented, and rightfully so. But one thing I kind of noticed was your musical IQ and just knowing how to layer your vocals so perfectly, knowing when it required an amplification of a layer or whether it required a certain harmony, knowing just how to place that in those tracks. I thought it was really smart, and it was kind of one of those things that when you heard it, you didn't know you needed it until it arrived. What is your thought process around kind of layering your vocals, and is there a thought process, or do you just listen back and see what's needed?
Well, a lot of times what I do when I'm writing is I use Logic, which is the Pro Tools for Mac, basically, and I sing the melody out. I make sure that I have the melody solid, and then I write the lyrics afterwards. So when I'm going through the lyric writing process, I'm singing the melody over and over again, and in my head, there's points that it's kind of like I'm hearing a harmony here, or I'm hearing 3 harmonies here, or I feel like this should be like a call and answer thing, or that kind of thing kind of comes out. And there are parts where it's like glaringly obvious what I should be writing here, or okay, this is the second time this comes in, we need to make it a little bit more, it needs to pop a bit more, so this is where I'm going to add the third through the whole thing. Just stuff like that really is kind of basically how it happens. I don't know if you've listened to Legacy yet.
Not yet.
Okay, that's the next video, so you won't have to wait too long.
I can't wait.
Well, in that song, I could not honestly decide which melody I liked. I had like 4 different tracks, and they're all different. And then I forgot to mute them or something. I can't remember. And they all played at the same time. And then I was like, oh, and it just sort of came to me. And so I honestly, I just reworked them a little bit so there was no dissonance or anything in there. And did like all of them. So that song has a lot of vocal movement. I can't wait for you to hear it.
I'm super excited. I can't wait. The minute that any of your videos are released, my inbox has never been busier. Everyone's like, it's come out, you got to do it, you got to have a listen. So I can't wait. And I know everyone's going to let me know anyway. You guys made what I would call a brave decision. I mean, it may not be brave from your perspective, but brave decision to include the synth that you did, but it felt like it was used sparingly. It didn't feel like it was used in a way that was now trying to be a dominant or primary sound throughout. It was used really smartly, and it was a great appreciation from my side. So was that something that you had an idea of going in, or was that something that you heard back and thought there's something missing?
No, well, we're all really big synthwave fans over here. And when we started writing for Abyss, it was just kind of like, we're putting synth in this, right? And it's like, yeah, oh yeah, obviously. Okay, yeah. It was just like not even a question. We all knew that it was going to be on this record. And it's not just because we love it as an instrument, but it's because we wanted Abyss to sound different. We wanted to set it apart from Apex. Again, like I said, we wanted people to understand that it's a very different record, and that it's also taking you to a different place, and that it's a science fiction record as opposed to a fantasy record. And we just kind of wanted it to be another part of the foundation, not exactly like you said, not like the primary instrument or anything like that. We just wanted it to be another piece of the puzzle. And a lot of songs Andrew wrote on the synth. Like this whole song started with the synth part, oh god, I can't remember the name. Return to Me. I was about to call it by its working title. That one started with the synth, and then he ended up deciding to play the part on the guitar, I think, as well as the synth, so it didn't make it as synthy. And there, that thing happened all the time. It was kind of like, oh, this part I originally wrote on the guitar, but it sounds so cool on the synth, so let's just do it on synth, or whatever, that kind of thing. It was constantly a part of the writing process. Yeah,
I love that. Of course, it wouldn't be an interview in 2020 if we didn't speak about COVID-19, unfortunately. But I just wanted to get your take on how you think that this is going to change, this pandemic and the potential for future pandemics. is going to change the music industry? And I'm not talking about obvious things like touring, but is there going to be, for example, more emphasis for labels and bands to place a higher level of competency in digital spaces to kind of build those up in case you need to use them in the future?
Yeah, I mean, like, just look at Napalm and all the content they've put out. Like, it's crazy. Napalm Next Door, the Silva series, vocal only, covers, all this sort of stuff. Lots of content. And I think it's spurred a lot of musicians and artists, creators to create content. And it might put a little bit too much expectation on them, on us, on you, to constantly be having to pump out something new. And it's kind of like, hey, all right, you guys, you know, coronavirus is over. I have a job again, kind of a thing. Like, don't burn me out here. But I think that's totally a possibility, and it's already kind of a thing. You know, people are substituting TV with YouTube, and Twitch. I know I don't have cable, and I certainly don't want it or care. And when I sit down at the end of the day, I turn on YouTube and I look at my favorite channels and I see if they've got something new. And if they don't have something new, you know, you're missing out on that revenue or that attention or, you know, whatever, that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely going to change there. And another thing is that it's totally possible that labels will be like, okay, you know, we're going to sign you, but in the contract is written in there that you have to do at least like 3 live streams, or every time you release an album, you have to do an online live stream release show thing for it or whatever. I think it's going to.
Yeah, that was going to be my question around the expectation. I think there's so many people that are now used to consuming this amounts of information and media. And the minute that you go back to Tyrion writing and other things like that, it's going to be a bit of a management there. But hopefully the being back on stage will keep them busy, which leads me to my next question. I know that a lot of people have asked you about Tyrion, and it's such a difficult question. I'm sure you get asked all the time. Is there anything are there any whispers around when you think that might be kicking in again? I know you want to wait until it's safe and when it's right versus doing something kind of halfway there, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, we have everything booked, but we just haven't announced anything.
Okay, yeah, I won't push you for an answer on here. Don't worry.
No, it's totally cool. I mean, like, I get it. It's next year's going to be really busy if it can be. So pretty much the spring is entirely booked and the fall is in the middle of being entirely booked. So if coronavirus allows, I think us and everyone else is going to be on the road. And I think everyone out there in the world is going to have a show to go to every night. So, but that's only, exactly, if it's safe, probably if there's a vaccine. I know Canada is being really squirrely about it, and they just are like, absolutely no shows, no venues open, nothing until there's a vaccine. And it hasn't been that way in a lot of other places. So it could be that everyone else gets shows and we don't, which would be horrible. But I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, if it ends up being okay in 2021, we are ready to rock. Yeah.
Okay, I think we got time for 2 more quick questions. I did put out on Twitter if anyone wanted to ask something that I would read it out, so I'll ask one of those. This one comes from Logan. He says, what do you find more challenging or stressful, being in the studio and writing and recording, or being on the road and touring?
Oh, the studio. Absolutely. Way more stressful. On the road is stressful. Hopefully not so much anymore, because I used to do everything. I would, anyways. So hopefully now it'll just be about playing the shows and everything. It'll be a little bit more relaxing, but it's so much fun, and like getting to be on stage every night is why we do this. So it absolutely just makes everything else, pales in comparison. So definitely the studio is, there's a lot of pressure to be perfect these days. So yeah.
Yes, there is. And then lastly, just wanted to find out, I've watched a bunch of your interviews, and other than the obvious way of supporting you guys through buying the album, what is kind of the next best way to support you at a time like this? I saw an interview where you mentioned merch. Is there a particular place where that is more helpful? Is that still something? Do you still have a lot of merch on hand? And people who are looking to kind of make a difference and support bands during this time, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, indiemerchstore.com is probably the best one. They pay us directly. We are partnered with them. It's not the label. So that's probably the big one. And also Bandcamp is really good. They also pay the artist directly. as opposed to Spotify that goes through like distribution companies, and so everyone sort of takes their piece before it even gets to you. And I mean, Twitch, I guess that's kind of where we're trying to hang out the most. So go subscribe to Andy, and when I can finally get back on there, come hang out with me, play some video games. And I mean, yeah, buying from the label helps too, because we owe them a lot of money. So every record, every t-shirt sold from them helps, pay off our debt, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, and just listen and tell your friends, and word of mouth is always the best way to travel. So whatever you can do is fine with us. We're just happy to, to be discovered by new people every day. And yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know that you guys are busy. Even though you aren't necessarily Tyrion, you're still trying to keep everything's moving and all the mechanics moving around. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat to me. And I'm not going to be mad if you decide to send me an early link for the next video. I promise. So,
well, it is becoming a theme to do the reactions with the reactors. So you're on the top of my list. Absolutely.
You know what? I'm not mad about that. Thank you so much, Brittney. Once again, honestly, I appreciate the time, and keep doing what you do. And you're making a lot of people happy, and you're making a lot of people smile in a time where there's not a lot to smile about. So we are grateful for the new music. And I think I cannot emphasize how important it's been during this time. I know it wasn't always the easiest decision to release it now, but it's been massively influential in keeping people afloat, and mental health wise, just keeping everyone smiling.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's, we're just happy to kind of be a bright spot in someone's otherwise darker day. So thank you for listening, and thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll speak next time. Cheers.